How I Create a Chapter, Part 1. Sentences. Write a simple sentence explaining what you want to show on the first and last page of the chapter. Copy this technique if you don't like to meticulously write out all of your scripts. Each sentence represents one page, so make sure you fill in the gaps, and when you read it all over again, it flows well. Follow for Part 2. How I Create a Chapter, Part 2. Thumbnails. You're going to use the sentences from Part 1 and draw them in this border. The goal is to translate the entire sentence into a comic page, and using that border will help you visualize what it will look like with the gutter. Doing this step digitally makes this next step so much easier, so please follow for Part 3. How I Create a Chapter, Part 3. Pencils. I use this technique to speed up my penciling and thumbnailing process. Copy and paste each thumbnail to their corresponding page, and then turn them blue so it's easier to pencil over them later. Then use the frame border tool on the left and create a frame around the entire page, so that way you can use the divide frame border tool and create panel gutters. Read the instructions on screen if you wish to control the thickness of each panel gutter. My numbers are on screen. Do that for every page, and then start going over what you already drew for your thumbnails and make them tighter so it's clearer to see what's going on. Something like this. Follow for Part 4. How I Create a Chapter, Part 4. Inks. I first ink all of the people throughout the entire comic, all 16 pages, and then I go back and ink all of the background. This allows me to focus as hard as possible on what I need to do at that moment in time. And instead of one page after another, I complete the entire comic all at once. Whether your style is cartoony or realistic, the goal is to create something that can compete and sit right next to any other manga on the shelf. So give it your all. Follow for Part 5. How I Create a Chapter, Part 5. Tones and speed lines. I tend to keep all of the tones for my series Hammer straightforward and simple. I keep it simple so that way I can keep the clarity at its peak. After all of the tones though, I add speed lines. I use all of the rulers on the left in the toolbar, and you can pause and read if you want to learn more. Follow for Part 6. How I Create a Chapter, Part 6. Letters. Clip Studio Paint has so many amazing tools to help you create comics, and one of them that I like the most is the speech bubble tool. You can draw your own speech bubble using this pen tool, or you can do what I do and use this default speech bubble, whichever works best for you. Just remember that the standard font size when it gets printed should be around 8, so don't make the font too small, because if you do, you're gonna have a lot of corrections like I did in Volume 1. Anyway, hopefully this mini-series on how I create my own comic has helped you in some way, shape, or form. So if it has, follow for more.